everybody, welcome back to Pro AV Today. I am your host, Ben Thomas, as always. Today's conversation is one that I love having, and it's one that we're having as an industry, especially as we start to service different verticals and reach out to different communities that have different buying channels, expectations, things like that. But wanted to focus specifically on a conversation really that I had at this year's CEDIA show. As I was walking around, one of the common denominators that I kept seeing was this logo from this company who I had typically associated as more the consumer side of the world, but the fact of the matter is it's just not the case anymore, and that company is Sonos. And look, I wanted to have a conversation today with their professional team to talk about how a brand that's really well known in the consumer side of the world has made that jump successfully into the commercial side of the world while retaining some of those things that made it so popular on the consumer side. So I brought on today my guest, Audra Kinsley, GM and VP of the Sonos professional team. Audra, thanks so much for coming on today.
Thanks so much for the invite. Thanks for having us.
You're very, very welcome. And we talked about this just a little bit before our conversation, before we push the record button, but I love to see, as somebody who is a fan of consumer technology and have been, it's the reason that I got into the professional side of the world. I love to see brands like Sonos finding their way into the professional side of the world. And one of the reasons that is so important and impactful is because a lot of those consumer-facing brands like Sonos invest so heavily in their end-user experience and their end-user preferences, and they ask a lot of great questions. You know, before we kind of dig into some of the specifics about jumping over into the B2B and professional side of the world, talk a little bit about how you guys have focused on that end-user experience and how it's helped you bridge that gap.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks, you nailed it. I mean, Sonos is primarily and laser focused on the end user experience from the very beginning. And, you know, no doubt that 20 years ago, we were really founded to revolutionize at-home listening. But fast forward to today, and we've organically found our product in over hundreds of thousands of commercial applications. And certainly our brand awareness and background help that. But what we've really found is that business owners and operators and system integrators that we've spent time researching just want to be able to replicate that same easy, premium experience that they've enjoyed in their home, and they want that same experience in their place of business. So we have really doubled down and spent a ton of time over the past few years interviewing hundreds of business owner operators and hundreds of systems integrators. And that is what we found. They want to be able to replicate that same premium, easy, enjoyable experience that consumers have at their home in their same place of business.
Well, I love that you kind of brought up the idea of that transitioning naturally from somebody who's a user maybe into their place of business, right? And that brings up something that transparently on the professional side of the world, we haven't done a great job of in general, and that's focusing on things like brand affinity, right? Where on the commercial side of the world, historically the B2C side of the world, there is a much larger emphasis on brand affinity and end user experience and what I'll call the full ecosystem, right? How have you seen things like brand affinity actually make it easier to make that jump into the pro side?
Yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt that our brand awareness and brand affinity has certainly helped. But again, we really believe, in our hypothesis is it's the product experiences that we create that has really helped that pull through into the commercial space. We're really proud of the overall brand and presence that we have, but we really, really, really are vehement that it's the product experience that we've delivered in commercial spaces. That's what's given us that our initial success.
Well, I want to ask about this too, right? You know, it's. I think I'd be remiss to not bring this up, right? The buying cycles, the buying process is wholly different, right? When you start talking about e-commerce, going through things like Amazon and on the B2C side, it typically is different, right? And then obviously when you're looking at the traditional pro audio side of the world, you're talking about distributors, integrators, dealers, all sorts of different people that exist kind of in that buying cycle. You know, what are some of the challenges that you found as you have gone through maybe some of these different buying channels? Is it something that you're seeing integrators embrace, or is it something that they're kind of having, you know, a little bit of a challenge kind of picking up?
One of the things that we really strive to do is make it as easy as possible to sell, support, and transact with the Sonos brand. That's what we're focused on with systems integrators today. And so as you mentioned, e-commerce, One of the things that we're really focused on is being able to provide a best-in-class digital B2B commerce platform, and that's how our systems integrators transact with us today. We have a lot of thoughts about how we continue to evolve that going forward. But from an e-commerce perspective, we really want to make sure they have a best-in-class tool and make it incredibly easy to buy, sell, and support Sonos products. Another thing that you'll see us, or that you will have seen from us in this past fiscal year, is we put a ton of effort into standing up an elevated level of customer support for our systems integration partners. And so today we have specialized and tailored customer support for installers where they can reach our most seasoned and technical experts on the Sonos platform and really bypass what you would normally expect from a consumer experience.
Well, that's interesting too. And I think that provides a really nice gateway for folks who might be maybe users at their house, but are business owners, are decision makers, or influencers inside of their company. And one of the things that I really, really love that you guys do a fantastic job of is teaching people things that they don't know, right? And one of those things that I love to pinpoint is, maybe say I have Sonos at my house, right? But I might run a local retail store or something like that. I might not know that it is illegal for me to play music that's not licensed by me inside of my store, right? But those are things that you guys help to teach people and also bridge that gap. Talk about some of those things that folks might not know as they, specifically end users, as they transition from maybe an end user in the home to maybe a more commercial application.
Totally. Absolutely. Thanks for that. So, I mentioned that we've spent the past years interviewing hundreds of business owner operators, and then of course systems integration professionals as well. And one of the major opportunities that we saw is when you're designing or installing, specifying an audio system, you're oftentimes in a situation where tons of research obviously goes into that, but you're looking at a patchwork solution of many, many different brands, whether or not it's the manufacturer that you're actually using to play or amplify the content, who you're actually sourcing that commercially licensed content from, or as you point out, even being aware that having commercially licensed content in a commercial setting is important. Or third, how you're controlling that content and overall audio experience. And where we saw that is an opportunity to really simplify, again, bring that simple, easy, and intuitive experience and be able to unify where a business owner operator or an integration professional is getting their audio hardware, getting their audio content, and then also how they're controlling that audio all from one individual manufacturer. And so we believe that's our opportunity in the commercial space. You started to see that last year with our introduction of Sonos Pro. And so Sonos Pro is exactly that. It's an opportunity to get to offer our customers commercially licensed content, premium and personalized customer support for commercial environments, and remote monitoring and management, all from one cloud-based dashboard. And we rolled that out in April, and we've been very excited about the product feedback there thus far.
Well, let's talk about Sonos Pro for a second. One of the things that traditionally on the B2B side of the world that manufacturers have struggled with is, okay, we need to create software, we need to make it easy, we need to try and figure out how our hardware platform can cross over. And a lot of people are not doing it very well, right? And it's, for lack of a better term, it's crushing a lot of these manufacturers, right? And you see folks like yourself and Sonos focus on the usability of software, and they focus on the feature set and the design of it. Whereas a lot of folks are just, I'm going to throw something together, click a few buttons, and they don't quite care about the aesthetic side. They don't care about the ease of use. When you're developing a platform like Sonos Pro, especially for the commercial side of the world, how much emphasis goes on that UX, on that usability side of things, especially when people who might not be trained audio professionals are having to operate that.
Wow, so cool. Yeah. Shout out to all of our UR and UX people on the Sonos Pro program right now. I'm so proud of the team that we have assembled. First of all, we spend a ton of time actually with the business owner operator, hearing what their needs are, hearing what challenges they've had with competing systems or not using any solution right now. And then we have an incredibly strong UX team where, maybe I can connect you with our actual product counterparts at some point and they can get into the philosophies of UX design. But it's certainly, when you look at our overall product and engineering team that we have supporting the Sonos Pro effort, user research, and user experience UX is a huge piece of that. And I hope that you see that replicated in our dashboard today.
I would say that you do, and I will put this notification out there too. This is not by any means a paid or sponsored conversation that we're having, right? This is genuinely my opinion, and we're having a genuine conversation. But it's really, really cool to hear about these things, honestly, Audra, because we don't have enough of these conversations on the pro side of the world about user experience, about operability. You know, we do have things about accessibility and conversations, but it really hasn't permeated the industry in a way that I think is acceptable, right? And that's one of the things that I genuinely enjoy about, Sonos, as you guys are continuing to find your way and find your footing on the pro side of the world. But as you're looking to do that too, I made a joke, obviously, about seeing your logo everywhere at Cedia. But part of that success in the commercial world is also embracing the existing channels, embracing partnerships. You guys have done a nice job of continuing to elevate the brand. But how important are partnerships with, whether it's associations like Cedia or manufacturers specifically? How important are those partnerships to continue to grow in the B2B side of it?
Oh man, tremendous. We have a program called Works with Sonos. That's the umbrella that we put all of our partnerships under. And whether or not you're thinking about it from the lens of potentially other commercial content companies, or you're thinking about it from the lens of control partners, Crestron, Control4, et cetera. We really believe that interoperability is needed in the commercial space and in the residential space as well. And so we spend a ton of time really investing with our partners and trying to build upon our API platform that we have today. And stay tuned for there too. That's something you might see us evolve in the future as well.
Well, let's talk about the future. I mean, you guys continue to evolve, whether it's from product offerings, whether it's jumping into new verticals, applications, things like that. What would you say is next? I'm not going to say what's next for Sonos, right? Because there's a million things that are next for Sonos. But what would you say for folks really that are looking to bridge that gap between the traditional consumer side and commercial side? It doesn't have to be pro audio. It could be any specific vertical you want. But what are some of the things that you would say you would anticipate seeing coming up in the future?
Well, while we don't necessarily comment on our roadmap, what I will tell you is that we are spending...
That's why I skated around the question.
We spend a ton of time really investing both from engineering and user research, as you've called out, in this space. And one of the exciting things about the early feedback on Sonos Pro is we absolutely, the way that we shape our roadmap is based on user feedback. That's what's so exciting about getting it out into market this past year. And we're really going to stay kind of core to our ethos about delivering premium audio experiences and delivering product experiences that are premium, easy, intuitive to enjoy, whether or not you're the business owner operator or the systems integrator. So I'd stay tuned.
Well, look, Audra, I really appreciate you in your candor, right? It's not always the easiest thing in the world for people to talk about their vision for a community, right? Historically, as a B2B and professional community, we've sort of had our we'll call it our secret sauce, and didn't want to share it. But I appreciate you being willing to have the conversation and talk about how, these worlds are kind of coming together in some of the ways that you've seen that growth happen. And look, I'm sure we'll find a way to have, whether it's you or your dev team back on. I feel like we can have 19 conversations about UI and UX in our industry because everything's going software-based these days. But I genuinely appreciate you coming on and sharing your insight with us.
Let's do it sometime soon, Ben. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. And thank you all for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe and join us again next time for Pro AV Today.